Okay, um, we are live now with Reggie Wright Jr. and Tim Brennan, who's the co-author of Once Upon a Time in Compton, and he also did a lot of the investigation into the Tupac and the Biggie murders. Tim, thank you for joining us tonight. I appreciate it. I guess we're gonna have people filter in and start to ask questions. So, Reggie, do you have anything that you wanted to ask him while we wait for fans to start to submit questions? Or Tim, do you want to maybe discuss the book a little bit about like how long it's been out, what all it covers for people who
Sure.
don't know?
The book Once Upon a Time in Compton was released this year with my partner Bob Ladd and co-author Louise House. And it pretty much we decided to do the book because there was a lot of misinformation out there over
Mm-hmm.
different books and videos and everything that's come out over the years. There was disinformation not only about the Tupac and Biggie cases, but there was disinformation about Compton PD, and I've seen people on videos and in books and saying how corrupt we were and all this. It kind of pissed me off. And, we had some good cops and, really good cops that worked hard over the years. And we had a really good department that had to, for a small department, with the population about 80 or 90,000, we were averaging 80, 90 homicides a year,
Mm-hmm.
and a few thousand shootings besides that. So, we were busy as hell and worked very hard. And because a few people might have been a few bad apples in the bunch, but people label us as this corrupt department, and we're no more corrupt department than LEPD is because of Rafael Perez. So I just wanted to set the record straight on a lot of issues involving us and be able to talk about the Compton PD. We had two of our officers who killed in the line of duty. It's just disrespectful to the memory of a 118-year old police department just to label it as corrupt. So I just wanted to set it straight.
Okay. You obviously worked on the task force, about the Biggie thing, and obviously you investigated a lot of the stuff that went on in Compton after the murder of Tupac. When you hear some of the online conspiracy theories and some of the stuff that people try to put out there, whether it be a DVD or a book or even just a rumor, how does that make you feel seeing how you actually put so many man hours and work into figuring out and putting the pieces together as to who was behind the Tupac shooting and what happened?
I never even spoke with anybody was interviewed until just several years ago when I did an interview with Anton Beatty after I think some video came out and it maligned Compton PD, and I saw some of these conspiracy theories. And because before I just kind of laughed at them, all the different conspiracy theories I had heard. They're all basically, most of this stuff is by people that have nothing to do with Compton, weren't there, nothing to do with the Tupac investigation, Biggie Smalls investigation. They don't know anything about Death Row or Suge Knight or any. I worked there all through the 80s, 90s, and when all these guys were just coming up. I knew all these guys. From Eazy-E to DJ Quick and Suge Knight. We dealt with these guys every day. DG Knockout. So it's like I'm watching all these people talk about this, all these theories, and just this BS that's out there, and it's just it didn't used to bother me, but it's starting to bother me a little bit now. Just when people start saying that our department was corrupt, or
Mm-hmm.
or I myself was corrupt, and it's just it's people that don't know anything that are putting stuff out there, and if you don't, I'm most proud of my integrity in my career and what I did. So, I don't mind, answering questions and, hopefully set the record straight on a lot of things.
Okay.
I like to ask the question. There's something out there that the BG Knockout claimed that he saw or heard that Orlando Anderson got shot during the Compton War. And I was just wondering, when you arrested Orlando Anderson during the raid, did you notice that he had a gunshot? He was a gunshot victim, or was he shot in the leg? To your knowledge?
No, I don't recall. I don't recall that at all. That he needed. He would have needed medical treatment. We had him in our jail, so I can't. if he got shot maybe after that, I don't really. And I ran into him a few times after that, and I don't remember him.
Do you remember
being
the
shot.
date, the date of your raid?
The date that we arrested him was, I believe it was October 2nd, '96. It was like about a week or so week and a half after Tupac had died.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, there was just some conspiracy out there. BG Knockout kind of put that out there.
He's probably mistaken on his dates, or maybe it was. I actually don't even remember. Besides the murder we handled when Orlando was killed, I don't remember. I can't remember a time when he was shot, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I didn't either. The other question I would have was, Jay Mix and them always try to put Orlando like a little choir boy. I know he was younger than his uncle Keefe and all of them, and especially the time I was working, I didn't really know him to be, just hanging out with Michael DeRoe. So if you could just explain him and Michael DeRoe relationship, and then if you're going to, a two-part question, explain all of the different things that you were investigating, because I remember you was investigating on a shooting in Nutty Block. If you could just talk on those different subjects, I appreciate it.
Oh boy, that's a whole lot of stuff. I remember Baby Lane when he first was coming up and when he was first getting into the Southside Strip. Like you said, yeah, he used to hang out with Michael DeRoe. They kind of grew up almost like brothers. And they, of course, I remember Keefe. Back when he was young, I was chasing him. He was one of the. I remember when he was still a street dealer, and then he moved up to starting to move kilos across the country. But I arrested him time after time back in the '80s. And then, I found out that, Orlando was his nephew. Around the time me and Bobby used to go to McDonald's almost every day and to eat. And one day I'm sitting there talking to an informant next to the car and waiting by to pull into McDonald's, and somebody shoots about 6 times at us, and it's around the car and on the light pole in the back of the car and everything. So we jump out of the car, we go running after these guys, and we end up catching, there was Michael DeRoe, and then Orlando was a youngster that was with another guy. I believe it was the actual shooter happened to be a guy named, I think it was Duck. It's one of the Ducks. There was 2 Ducks, and I can't remember his name. I think it was Moore, was the actual one that was doing the shooting at it. And I mean, that was another thing I saw on one of those videos where they were saying I made Orlando Anderson a patsy, and the reason was, on the Tupac murder, the reason was because he shot at us. Well, he didn't shoot at us. He was with the guy that shot at us. So, I mean, that kind of clears that up. I mean, I didn't have any animosity that I'm going to go make somebody happy for another murder for being with somebody that actually shot at us. Because there were other people like Michael and others that were there, and I never decided to make them a patsy on any cases. So, that's one of the things. There were several. There's so many murders in the South Side that we investigated, and Nutty Block, and there was other murders where Orlando's name came up. He started really, his name was coming up more right around 94, 95, and 96. One of the murders was a guy named Albert Webb over in Nutty Block, and he was from Palmer Block. And there was a confrontation that ensued over at a Nutty Block house during a party where DeAndre Smith and Orlando Anderson, based on the witness's statements, it struck this guy in the head with a 9mm, and I guess his magazine fell out, and he tried to shoot and it wouldn't shoot, and then DeAndre Smith walked up and started shooting at him. And that was another thing too. They were wondering why he never went to prison on that. At the time we arrested him, he was a suspect in that case when we arrested him after the Tupac murder. And what had happened was, with all the publicity surrounding all that, the the district attorney at that time wanted to hold off until we got a little more evidence on that case before they filed at that time. And the time of Orlando Anderson's murder, 2 years later, that case was over at the district attorney's office. We found another witness, and they were just getting ready to file on Orlando for that murder. And they did file on DeAndre Smith, who we took to trial. If it would have been, a few days later, he would have been for the murder, and he might still be alive.
Okay.
I forgot if there was another question in there or not.
No, you pretty much answered it. Some of the people complaining about bad connection, so I'll hang up and call you right back.
Okay.
Yeah,
I hear this.
so we can get a better response.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Sorry about that, guys. They're going to call back, and hopefully we have a better connection on that one. But keep the questions coming in, because we will definitely make sure he hears them and see if he wants to speak on them. So let's just give it a minute for them to call back, and then we will hopefully have a better audio connection. Sometimes with phones, you get a bad connection, or if they're in a bad area where there's not good cell service, it can be a little ghetto. So hopefully when they call back here in a minute, we'll be good. Okay. Hello? Hello?
Yeah. Is there a better connection?
So far, yeah. We'll see.
Okay. All right.
No, I can still hear it, actually. It's staticky. Can you do it from your home phone, or are you out and about?
Okay.
I'm out right now.
I'll call you. No, it's my phone probably, Kim. I'm going to call you from a block number. I'm going to call you from another number. Hold on. I'm going to call you from another phone. All right.
Sorry, guys. This should fix it. Sorry. We're still learning the process here. It's only our third episode, so give us a little bit of slack. We don't sit online all day and all night and do this like other channels where we just conjure up imaginations and do it every day, all day. So, but yeah, keep the questions coming in, and when we get them back on the phone, I will start from the top and start to kind of funnel through and ask what's going on. Heidi E, we will ask your question. I see that. Justin, I think we all think the same thing. Ask about Orlando Anderson being in a wheelchair. We'll ask that. We'll ask anything that you guys ask us to ask, we will ask. Hold on. Okay, you there?
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry about that, you guys.
Okay. So
Tim, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that's much clearer. One question that came in, Tim, was they said ask about Orlando Anderson being in a wheelchair, and then they said they wanted me to ask if Orlando was ever an informant of any kind.
He answered the first part, but you can ask the other part.
Yeah, as far as the wheelchair, I don't ever remember seeing him in a wheelchair.
Okay.
Not that I recall. I remember his brother once was shot up around the time the Biggie Smalls murder happened, and but I don't believe he was in a wheelchair either. But that's all I remember. I don't remember him ever being in a wheelchair.
Okay.
What was the other part of the question?
If he was ever an informant of any kind.
No, I wouldn't say an informant. We interviewed him on another case where he was probably one of the principals in the case, where we were looking at Michael DeRoe for another murder, and that Orlando was there, and we brought him to the station, and that was probably about 95.
Okay.
And we spoke to him extensively, but I mean, he wasn't an informant.
Okay.
Tim, you had spoke on the A&E episode regarding the Orlando initiation for shooting at you. They want to know, was he arrested, and or how did you get that information that he was the one that fired shots at you?
Well, he's one of the guys I saw out there. He was. What happened was after they shot at me and my partner, they ran into a known Southside house, and it was a McLean house. I'm sure you remember that, Reggie, your house, over on Temple Street right after the shooting. and there were several Southside Crips there. And at the time, we couldn't see who was shooting at us through the bushes. We had to wait until we got a witness, and they identified this guy named I don't know if it was Little Duck, Big Duck, Moore, and he wasn't identified as the shooter. So that's why nothing ever happened with him. He was just there with for moral support with Michael DeRoe and this guy that actually shot at us. So no, we didn't arrest him. We arrested the guy that shot at us, and he was convicted.
Okay. I know you probably can't speak on this, Reggie, but maybe Tim, you can. J2 Cooper asks, if death row was so big and bad and gang related, why didn't they retaliate in Compton for the Tupac stuff? Lane and all the Compton people were walking around, and it seems like no one cared. I'm sure you can speak on the aftermath of what happened after the Tupac shooting in Vegas, to where you can.
Okay, well, they actually did. There was actual retaliation.
Yeah.
As far as them catching up with, Orlando or Keefe or any of the little Bird Street crew, they weren't able to catch up with them because them guys were laying really low. Yeah. Anyone that knows gangs and those gang shootings, you can pretty much tell what neighborhood did it, because you're going to go to that neighborhood and it's going to be like a ghost town. Mm-hmm. After they go kill somebody, what they do is they lay low because they know that people are going to be riding looking for them and looking for their retaliation. So that's why something like the murder of Bobby Finch happened a few days later over in Southside's area, and that was reportedly by a mob member, and that was early in the morning. So, when you wouldn't usually expect to find gangsters out, and most of the retaliations would go on during, in the late afternoon or at nighttime, So it was, those guys were trying, they were around. They had a meeting at Looters Park after the murder that had several informants identified as taking place, and with several sets involved, the mob and Elm Lane and Looters Park. All these guys got along back then, and they discussed the retaliation and which streets to hit and where these guys hung out and all this other stuff. And that was all in that affidavit I wrote, and also how we ended up actually identifying some people involved in some of those shootings that took place. There were some shootings over in the Ward Lane neighborhood, and they were actually associates of Southside, and it was the same gun was used in a lot of those shootings. I believe it was 45, and same group of suspects. And then we identified a car that was used and some people that were involved in some of those shootings. So there was back and forth shootings documented between the mob and Southside.
Okay. And one of the main Southsiders, and Timmy tried to touch on it, but we ain't gonna get too deep into it, when he kind of alluded to the Hoover side and the Southside side. There's two different factions of Southside, but Darnell Brim, who was the main shot caller on the Southside side, I remember he got shot during one of the wars. And then also when he was talking about Bobby Finch, I really believe, and Tim may can touch on that because I know he knows way more than I do about it. I really believe that was the attempt when they tried to get Corey Edwards. And I think Bobby Finch was mistaken for Corey Edwards.
Yeah, that's quite possible. That was the information we received at the time, especially with Finch, that, he knew all those guys from the South Side, but he wasn't out there hanging with them or anything. But next door to him was a guy named Corey Edwards, and Corey Edwards was in Las Vegas at the time of the Tupac murder with the other South Side that were there, including TPD, T. Brown, and DeAndre Smith, and several others that were out there in Vegas. And it so happens they kill Bobby Finch, who happened to be a next door neighbor of Corey Edwards. So that was like most of what we assumed at that time, was they thought that maybe that was Corey that was coming out of the house when they shot him. And the other part of Darnell Brim. Yeah, Brim's been around forever. They arrested him many times, and he was one of the leaders, one of the shot callers of Southside at that time. And he kind of hung out. He was more with the Glencoe, the guys that hung out in Glencoe. and Keefy D had his own little kind of crew that hung out over there on Burr Street, and they were more into making the money and the drugs and all that kind of stuff. And the Glencoe group in Southside, they were more into the hardcore gang banging and doing the drive-bys and the drug sales and all the neighborhood stuff over there. And he was one of the first that was shot. He was shot by a guy that we identified also from being up there by the mob. So there was, I don't know where they come up with this fallacy that there was no retaliations, and
Yeah, they
and
think
then I hear
because
there was no gang wars, a few shootings. Well, it was, we've had worse times in Compton, but this was definitely a back and forth, and there were, luckily enough, a lot of the intended targets weren't hit. There
and
were
that's
a
what
lot
they
of
get mad
shootings
about.
going back and forth, and then oftentimes, as Rich can remember, half the shootings don't even get reported, especially if someone doesn't get hit.
Yeah.
You might have a call of some shots fired in the area and everything else. And we had documented, we had at least 12 or 13 and 3 murders and, about another 10 or 12 shootings besides that, back and forth in about 9, 10 days, based on Suge and Tupac getting shot. So, if they're saying that's not a gang war, well, I don't know what neighborhood they're living in, but, for, people in the South and in the mob neighborhood, there was a lot of shooting going on.
And they keep asking that question because Orlando or Keefy D wasn't shot, and they don't realize they took cover, and
yeah, I mean,
that
that's gangs 101, man. If your guys went out and just shot and killed somebody, you better get off the street. First thing they do is start warning going through the hood, warning everybody, because there was no cell phones back then, or very, not like it is now, not as prevalent and everything. And, they make sure everybody's, they're laying real low. I wasn't seeing nobody, and I just happened to. I was lucky enough with my timing to, I think I ran into Orlando and what's his name, Monk, riding around the neighborhood, and then chased some other guys out of the house, Monk and some other people over at one of their houses that they used to sell drugs out of, Southside House, and there was a bunch of guns and ammunition and everything there. And Orlando had just been driving up with Monk just prior to that. And so I did see these guys, and we had some guys on surveillance on Orlando, and he was moving out at the time. He was moving stuff out of his house at the time, right after the shooting, moving into stuff to another location, and so he was getting out of Dodge too. And he actually had another girlfriend he lived with over by Lakewood, and that's where we actually arrested him the morning for warrants. So yeah, they were hanging real low, and all my informants were telling me that he was packing 1 or 2 guns, when he's in the neighborhood, and he was he even lost our surveillance we had on him the one day that he was packing up and moving out, because I mean, he was doing his own counter surveillance, and he saw somebody following him, and he just did so many turns and splits and turns all over the place that he ended up losing our surveillance. So, these guys aren't, I'm not saying they're rocket scientists, but these guys know what they're doing. I mean, that's their life and that's their livelihood. They're, in the neighborhood, and every car that drives down the street, they're looking at, and then anyone that don't belong in that neighborhood or something, they're checking out, because these guys always got to be watching their back for the enemy. So, there was definitely shootings, there was definitely retaliations, and, it was just gangsters acting like gangsters and taking extra precautions and trying to lay low after the shootings. That's it.
B-Lee, I can answer this one to rush it up a little bit. He asked who all lived in the house that was raided at the death row, with the death row stuff. I know that was Suge's parents' house, that he had moved his parents out, and he had let Neckbone and Trayvon live at that house. And Timmy May can talk about the raid and what was recovered from there, because I don't know. But he can.
I don't remember. We brought Neckbone in that morning of the raid.
Yeah, I think they had some weed or something like that.
Yeah, we had some charge on him. I don't remember if we found him over there by Shig's mama's house or where. You know, you got to remember, you know, and all these people come up with all this stuff, but you got to remember these. We put these things, you know, it started out as a 55 location search warrant, you know, and so there's two of us, me and Bob, putting it together, and then you know we got our other gang partners, Eddie Geary and Richardson helping us, and then Bobby Baker took over the gang unit after this during the time of these shootings and retaliations related to the Las Vegas shooting, and you know it was a hell of a lot of work, and you know in between us trying to write an affidavit and you know set up surveillance and try to nail down all these locations we're going to hit, you know, we just had so much stuff going on, and you know, I couldn't be, especially the morning of the raids. You know, we started like 2 o'clock in the morning, and had to do it. In, you know, we had about 500 cops from all these different agencies to help us, and we still had to do it in 2 sweeps. And me and Bob had to be in 50 places at once. It seemed like, you know, we were running around, and you know, it was our operation, so. You know, I couldn't get to every single house, but I mean, I can tell you the best of my recollection, you know, without looking at any of the old paperwork from the search warrant. I really don't look at that stuff too much right now, but you know, to see exactly what we got from each house, I do have it somewhere. I would just have to find it, but I do know it's Phil's house. You know, we got like some death row paraphernalia. We had. There was a death row medallion chain that was recovered from that house. There were several photographs that we ended up using as evidence against him in the
Probation.
in his probation revocation about 6 months later when he was found guilty on that you know for the probation revocation, and he ended up doing about 5 years for that. And we used a lot of the photos where Shug was throwing up mob hand signs and Pyru hand signs, and you know, identifying all these other gangsters that were in the photos with him, along with we had a photo with Tupac and I think Snoop and Shug and David Kenner and MC Hammer, and you know, just you know, photos of when these guys are on vacation, and then photos in the hood with everybody throwing up the signs. Some of that stuff was used against him later in that probation revocation hearing.
Okay. That famous photo of the officer holding the death row medallion, is that from that the raids that you were just speaking of?
Yes, it is. That's Anthony Easter. He was one of the Compton officers that was assisting on the raids. I'm not sure if he went to Shug's house, but that was recovered from Shug's house.
Okay, so that could have belonged to anybody then, but it was found in Shug's house?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, Tim, I remember hearing something about that Melvin Horde shop. Do you remember anything about the rented catalog getting repaired there? The white Cadillac that we believe that was involved in the shooting in Vegas?
You know, one of our informants did tell us that two persons brought in a white caddy right after that shooting in Las Vegas with a bullet hole that needed to be repaired. And so I don't know if it was a rental or what, but they identified one of the guys as Monk, Jerry Bonds from Southside, and they said he was with another guy. Well, I talked to the informant after I did the raid, and then, you know, I guess he didn't want to tell me at the time, but the other guy that he was with was Rolando Anderson. And, you know, all I can guess is that, you know, how it is with some of these informants and some of these gangsters and stuff. You know, they'll tell you about everybody that's there except the one they know that you're looking for. And so they conveniently left his name out. So after I did the raid, they just said Monk, and another guy brought this Cadillac in to be repaired. And we had received some information. Some of the mob members may have, in the entourage in Las Vegas, may have shot back at the Cadillac as it was leaving the scene after the shooting of Tupac and so.
Okay, and also, Sorry about that.
I've got one here, Reggie, from DJ
Okay.
Coma. He wants to know, Tim, if you have any information about Bruce Richardson's murder, and if Suge had any involvement in that. I'm not familiar with that, but I didn't know if you wanted to speak on that or not.
Bruce Richardson.
Oh,
His
that.
nickname
Yeah,
or
yeah.
anything?
No, that was the LAPD thing. I know about that.
Oh,
Bruce was the guy that we had got into a fight with at a club in L.A. And then the next night he got killed at his house. But I think they determined his girlfriend or something like that set him up.
that happened in L.A., didn't
Yeah,
it?
that was L.A.
Yeah, I had nothing to do with any of that.
Yeah. Um, um,
Okay.
There's another thing that, some of those conspiracy theorists, too, they talk about the affidavit I wrote,
yeah.
and they were saying about, I was really embellishing everything and all this kind of stuff just to make it a gang, seem like it was a gang case. These are guys that I don't know if they think Captain did it or who did it or who they thought did it or if the cops did it or Sug did it himself or whatever. But these one of them conspiracies, and they had somebody talking about my affidavit, saying, well, he might have, that I had the wrong location and about where Tupac and Suge were shot, and that that I said that they got out of the car and challenged them or something, and I put all that in there just to be a gang thing or something. Well, first of all, that information came from an informant I was speaking to, and oftentimes this guy turned out to be very reliable, and oftentimes these guys, they hear these other guys who were at the shooting scene, and they find out different information about that shooting, but they don't often know exactly the right, address where it happened at or the right street or whatever. And I think he said it was on Las Vegas Boulevard and Koval or whatever. And, I put that in there, and he did say that somebody got out, started talking shit, and then shot. Well, I put all that in there. It's not me saying that. This is an informant telling me that. And I'm not going to change what his statement is. His other information was turned out to be corroborated by other informants and witnesses. It's just, yeah, he had the part wrong about them getting out, and, talking shit, or that it happened right near or right on Las Vegas Boulevard. But that's not me saying that. That's the informant was saying it. And I'm not going to change what his statement is just to say, oh, no, it happened over here and over there. So I just write their statement just to
We got this guy, we call him Cisco and Ebert, and their real name is R.J. Bond and J Mix. They have a channel. And R.J. Bond, he just goes and pull up reports. And from that, he pulls up that and he try to make everything factual, like he knows, and he had this anonymous informant that told him this and told him that. And he likes to just criticize everything. But
yeah, it might have been his. I don't know if it was his or Carlin's or whatever. But they had somebody. I don't know if he was a former attorney, judge, whatever he was, and he's going over it. Well, sometimes cops may put this extra wording in, so they might think it's gang related or something. And first of all, I took that affidavit to the presiding judge in Compton, the top judge in Compton, and she had it for several days. She went over with a fine-tooth comb. And this judge, now she's in the appellate court. She's a very thorough and good judge, and she worked gang cases all the time. That's pretty much all she heard in Compton was gang murders. And she's well aware of the criteria of what, makes this a gang case or gang related or not. And, I'm not going to put in something about somebody getting out saying something just to make it sound more gang related, because that whole affidavit, if you read it, it's all gang related. All those shootings. And they're all, there's evidence of gangs back and forth throughout the whole thing. So, I mean, I wouldn't need to have to, embellish a report or anything. So that's just another fantasy that I heard on one of their conspiracy sites.
Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and deal with the elephant in the room. and what everybody was wondering about, and why they trying to sort out the best gang cops that I know, that work the streets as far as the street cop, um, besides Reggie Sr., of course. But they got this conspiracy theory out there saying that they want to believe that Timmy Brennan or Bobby Ladd threw the gun over the fence, and while with Corey Edwards, at Corey Edwards' girlfriend's house, instead of anybody's house, you throw it at is Orlando's or Keith or Kevin Davis, but you're over at Corey Edwards' girlfriend's house and planted his gun in the backyard. Could you just tell how that gun was found and what led you to the gun?
Yeah, I don't remember if I heard that one or not. I may have. But I mean, it's just it's kind of ridiculous. Like, again, if you want to make something a big conspiracy theory, and I'm going to plant a gun, I guess I must have, to make that make sense, I would have, I did know where Corey Edwards' girlfriend was. I knew Corey Edwards. I knew his girlfriend, and that was all research I did when I did the affidavit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm well, and I know all these guys. I knew where their girlfriends lived, their mom's house. That's part of working Compton, working gang.
Yeah.
And, because, you're looking for somebody, well, you're going to know where they're going to be hiding. They're going to be over their girlfriends or, somewhere not their regular address. So anyway, if I wanted to plant a gun, it doesn't make sense. I'm going to plant it, in Corey Edwards' girlfriend's house because the connection is convoluted. If you're going to plant a gun on somebody, then I guess you would plant it on whoever your suspect is.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's the whole thing is kind of silly. And, that gun apparently was, what happened was I went to the Biggie Smalls task force, and I was aware of 3,000 guns came over when the Compton Police merged with the Sherriff in 2000. 3,000 guns from our evidence locker. And a lot of them haven't been test fired because, a lot of people don't know, especially back in those days, guns weren't routinely sent out to be test fired. They only test fired when you had a suspicion that they were used in a certain crime. So they weren't routinely sent out to the lab. That takes time, it takes manpower, it's a lot of work, and we got a lot of guns to stop it. So anyway, we decided 40 calibers, 9 millimeters, since we were looking on the Tupac murder and the Biggie Smalls murder because we believed that one was related to the other. And I went over there with a couple of sheriff's deputies over to our sheriff's property, and while going through the evidence, I found a Glock 40, and I just happened to notice the address, and I remembered that being Corey's girlfriend's house. And then I also looked at the date, and I believe the date I found it was or the gun was found was May, I think it was 29/98. And I remembered, since I handled the case, that Orlando Anderson was killed on May 28, 1998. So it just seemed like a hell of a coincidence to me. This gun's over there by Corey's girlfriend's house, and it shows up the day after Orlando gets killed. So that's why I grabbed that gun, and they told me you need to send this out for do your prints and your DNA. They sent it out for comparison against the Tupac gun. And then what inevitably happened was there was an ATF agent assigned to the task force that took control of the gun from me and tested it. That night I came in to work the next day at robbery homicide, and they, everybody was all happy and everything and saying, hey man, it matched. And, through the Nivens system, we got a match up. That is the gun, right? That's the one that killed Tupac. So a few days later, they took it to Las Vegas, and Las Vegas checked it against the casing instead of just the print version on the computer on the casing that said it was a match. And then Las Vegas checked it against the actual casing they had from the crime scene of Tupac's murder, and they said it did not match. So that's what happened with that gun. For a couple of days, we thought that's definitely a match, and according to the ATF agent that did the NIDA test on the gun, and then Vegas said no, it's not. So that's the big thing with the gun.
Okay, so I guess the A&E show, that just was for the dramatization for TV ratings of how they put it out there.
Yeah, I mean, all these, documentaries and everything, they got to, especially if you're doing 5, 6 parts, whatever, they got to have a cliffhanger about, oh, next episode you're going to see this, and then, they're going to show, oh, he found the gun, and, then what happened? Where is it? And all this stuff. It's just TV, It's like any show you got where they want you to come back the next week and see what happened. So, they kind of made it more than it actually was.
Okay. Hey Tim, in your investigations and all that, did you were you aware of any sort of connection between Bad Boy and the Southside Crips?
Through all the informants I spoke with, and they were numerous, several had told me there was indeed a connection, and that was in my affidavit at the beginning, regarding some of the first street crews in Southside that they had associated with both Biggie Smalls, Puppy, and provided, unofficial security when they were in Compton, Los Angeles area. And that was also backed up when I spoke to Orlando's best friend. And he talked about when they meet in Vegas with, they met Biggie over there in Vegas with some others, and they had it was more of a, exchanging some drugs and, providing kind of unofficial security when they were over there on the West Coast. It still basically had mob members as his security force. Well, I mean, not his whole security force, but I mean, you know what I mean. That was his entourage. Those were his people.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that did the dirty deeds and the beat downs and all that kind of stuff, and that's kind of what the South Sides were for with Bad Boy. And several persons have told me that. I never saw it myself, but and I was aware of the connection with Zip from the East Coast, and he's connected with Bad Boy and with DPD over here in Southside Crips. So I was aware of those connections also, but I never saw it firsthand.
Hey Tim, and I remember or recall hearing about this when Las Vegas police came to the Compton Police Department when I was bringing the two witnesses to be interviewed by them. Do you recall when Sergeant Becker and his partner was down there? They were bringing a murder book and a picture of Tupac autopsy or pictures of him in the murder book.
Oh boy, I don't. I imagine they probably had that in their murder book. I saw it when before I did the affidavit and did those search warrants. I went out to Las Vegas, and that's when I pointed out Orlando Anderson on the video that got beat down, and talked to them about the information we were getting. I told them, how this case was the catalyst for several shootings and murders we were handling in Compton, and they shared with me information about persons that were calling in with nicknames, and I told them who all those persons were, and they were also outside scripts as far as being involved in that shooting. And I saw an autopsy photo at that time, but as far as when they were there for that interview with those guys, and you can give their names. I can't recall now who brought in, but from what I remember, those guys were ready to cooperate.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, and that's kind of what I always thought with Las Vegas, they should have had some gang guys working with them also on this murder. Because not everybody, every detective is going to talk to a gangster, a guy who's gang related, say, and hangs out with other gangsters. So a lot of times people will talk to somebody, they're going to play the tough guy, the hard guy, whatever, and it kind of just turns off, the people that you're talking to, and you're trying to get them to cooperate with you. You don't want to just come at them with a hard ass attitude, yelling at them and all that kind of stuff, because they're going to just say, well, screw you, I don't even want to look at this shit,
Yeah.
So from what I remember that day, I think they didn't get along too well with the witnesses that were brought in. That
Yeah, and
could have
also
negatively affected any lineup that could have been done.
that they didn't want to show it to him. But what I was mainly trying to get to, because there's a lot of people out there that believe Tupac is in Cuba and still alive, and I just wanted you to pretty much say that you saw enough to see.
Well, I mean, I saw the autopsy photos, and they looked authentic to me. You know? And no, I mean that's another theory that I've heard many times, and it's just like, no, I don't believe that. Yeah, I didn't see him dead, but I did see the photos of the autopsy, and they look legitimate to me.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think after 20 years, there would have been a sighting, an actual real sighting of it by now, any day of it.
Well, there's
Would
some
have
people
wanted
out
to
there.
get in contact with his loved ones and everything else.
Exactly. There's some people out there that says that, and then it's a loved one or a supposedly loved one that says his mama told him that he was still alive. But trust me, none of that is true. There's a question from someone named Golden Child, and I want to ask this question, and you can answer it honestly as possible. But it's regarding me. So it said, they said LAPD, but they mistaken it for Compton PD. But it said, did Compton PD lose credibility because of my meaning Reginald Wright Jr.'s association for working with Death Row? And what stumbling blocks did you run into? I know it affected my father's credibility, but they just wondered, did it affect you?
I mean, I hate to tell you, Reggie, but yeah, it hurt. It hurt, and even though I know it wasn't just some off-duty Compton guys working for Death Row, it was LAPD, it was Sherriff, it was other school police, Inglewood school police, Compton school police working for Death Row. But yeah, I mean, of course, it tarnished us, that people were like, well, these guys shouldn't be working for these criminals, and they just saw everybody at Death Row as a criminal, because they're looking at the mob and some of the Suge Knight's annex and everything. So yeah, I mean, it did damage our credibility, and it was one of the reasons I wrote the book, to try to bring, say that, hey, we had a great department, and just because a couple of people might have done some things that don't look that good, that doesn't make everybody here, it doesn't. You shouldn't reflect that on the whole department.
Okay, Tim, I got a question here from one of the viewers, and he wants to know if you can tell us about the reputation of the Mob Pyrus compared to the Southside Crips in regards to one being more threatening or more dangerous than the other.
No, I don't think, we've had gangs, I get to ask that a lot because I do documentaries on gangs, and I testify the gang expert a lot. And, everybody wants to know, what was the biggest, baddest gang in Compton, which was the most dangerous and all that. Every gang has had its day, I mean, some are, and a lot of it is, due to certain people within that gang that might have just got out of prison, and they're on one, they're on a vendetta, they want to show this is the toughest gang around. And the Southside Mob, there wasn't a whole lot of shootings back and forth we had between Southside and Mob, but some of the mob at that time, they were with Elm Lane, they were with, they were all together. The Pyrus all used to be together in Compton until the early 90s. I think the Freak Towns and the Treetops had some issues, and but for the most part, around the time of this shooting, most of the Pyrus were all together. So Mob had a reputation, but the Mob had kind of gone more into business. They were in business with Death Row. They're being, all these guys are working for Suge. They're making money and stuff. And when you're making money, you're not out there gang banging and drive-bys and all that kind of stuff. So there wasn't as much activity going on within the mob. Southside was probably more active, but I'm not going to say one was bigger and badder than the other. It's two separate gangs. One's red and one's blue, so they naturally don't get along because of that. And you add in some of these other shootings and stuff, or maybe the South where they shot at Elm Lane, that's a friend of somebody from the mob, or we'll have a lot of conflicts back and forth.
And
But yeah, I wouldn't say one's bigger than the other or anything.
and the mob didn't have too much problems with the South Side because of a couple of things. In the drug game, there was a guy named Fink that was real connected, and they had a guy that kind of ran with the mob named Glencoe Zeke. Um, we called him Glencoe Zeke because he hung because the street in South Side is Glencoe. Um, he had a good connection with Fink, and and so they used to get a lot of drugs from them. And then plus Mob James' girlfriend, his wife or girlfriend, main girl at the time, she was from the South Side. So even though it was the Crips and the Bloods, they didn't really have no major beef with each other because of, I think, because of the drug game.
Yeah, I mean, like he said, and it's usually the youngsters, and you know, they'll run into each other at a party or a swap meet or something, and you know, it's the youngsters trying to establish themselves that usually might kick it up with, you know, somebody from the Southern mob might get in a fight, or somebody gets disrespected, or they cross something out, or they write something on the wall, you know. But it's usually like you said, you know, I remember Zeke, and, you know, all those guys were in Cocaine. Uh, oh yeah, Fink, yeah, and I mean, and of course, you know, I got a photo of Fink standing there, PPD, Steve Brown, and Orlando, and all them too. So, and PPD, even, you know, he was pretty big at that time in the dope game. So, you know, usually the dope game, the money, the green always trumps the red and the blue. You know, these guys will work together, you know, and try to keep the peace sometimes, somewhat, when they're making money. You know, it's usually the youngsters who get out there and start the little gang banging back and forth shootings and stuff. So usually the older guys are more about making that money.
Okay. Did you ever have any dealings? I know you touched on this a little bit earlier, but did you ever have any dealings with BG Knockout? Because somebody's saying that on an interview with DJ Vlad, you had mentioned that Orlando Anderson and BG Knockout were best friends.
No, I don't think I mentioned.
He didn't mention that. BG Knockout mentioned that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I knew Knockout and Drayster. You know, we arrested him. I think, matter of fact, I heard some of his interview because I guess Vlad had just interviewed him before us or something, and he was saying, "Oh yeah," you know. And I heard his interview where he said that I was the first one ever to arrest him, and you know, because they call me Blondie in the streets, so you know, it was, he said, "Yeah, Blondie's the first one ever arrested me. He knew us and all this kind of stuff." And, you know, he said something like, "Oh, they're cool, but they're corrupt though, right?" You know. And everybody got to throw in something like that because they can't be seen as saying, "Oh, yeah, these cops are all right," or something, you know. And they got to throw in the corrupt thing. And that was another thing I was going to bring up because I see these guys, Bond and J-Nick, whatever, you know, and they're, "Oh, yeah, I'm a corrupt cop." And, you know, I was, what they say I was doing, shaking down dope dealers or whatever else. Well, I don't even know where these guys are from, but, you know, they don't know anything about Compton. And, you know, they said, "Oh, I can't even go to Compton because, you know, everyone hates me because I'm, you know, shaking down dope dealers," all this kind of whatever they were thinking I was doing. But, you know, I mean, I go to Compton all the time. My wife still works there every day. You know, I go there and I see people. I visit with people, you know, and I run into gangsters all the time. People even other places I go around my house, everywhere. And all I ever get is most people just come up, shake my hand, and see me in a while, and say, "Hey, I saw you on TV," or whatever. And I have never had a bad experience with any gangster I've ever run into, and not worrying about going to Compton. And I never shoot down any dope dealers for whatever that's supposed to mean. And, you know, it just kind of pisses me off because I spent 32 years at the top, you know, doing stuff on the up and up, and all the biggest DAs and judges and lawyers, even defense lawyers, all over Los Angeles, know me, and you know they know about my credibility. And you know, if I was to be, you know, some kind of a crooked cop, I don't think I would have made it through being a gang homicide guy for years at Compton. And the sheriff's department puts me back into a gang homicide unit when I'm working there. So it's some people say stuff, you know, and it's, you know, a lot of BS, and a lot of this stuff, you know, people, you know, calling in, or you know, these guys that'll listen to some of these shows, and then they'll type, "Oh yeah, he's a crook," or this. It's just there's a whole lot of people don't like police to begin with, and my main thing is I was successful at what I did. And
let me
pretty
cut
much
it right
everyone
there.
in Compton knew me, the citizens and the gangsters, so I saw these guys every day. And a lot of doing police work is, a lot of times, I'm like, stop. I mean, I worked dope. In the '80s, I worked dope back when DJ Quick wrote the song and Cut No Slack and all that. But by the late '80s, I'm working homicides. I'm working shootings. I didn't really care about dope. Dope would be a tool. Some guy threw some dope on the ground. I come up, put him on the hood, pick up his dope, and then tell him, well, you want to go to jail? You want to talk to me about this murder that happened last night? Oh, I want to talk about the murder, right? So, all right, meet me down the station in half an hour, right? So, comes down the station, he gives up a murder, then the dope just gets booked in the found property. If he doesn't come through, then he's got a case, and we get a warrant for him. So, people don't know what we're doing out there in the street. They seem to know, and a lot of guys who say stuff because they got to save face, for themselves or whatever, and it's just people don't know how we do police work, and we work in the area like Compton, and guys that work in in areas with a lot of crime, and we rely on informants because people are scared of the gangs, the intimidation, the retaliation, and they don't want to they don't want to be a witness sitting on the witness stand. We make these cases from the gangsters. They snitch the other guys out. And then we have to get somebody that's going to get on the stand sooner or later that's going to give it up. So, that's how we make cases. And I don't even remember what the question was, to tell you the truth.
No, you
I've
answered
been
it.
rambling on so long.
No, you answered it, and you also answered what I was going to interject and say. That, I'm not kissing his ass because he's on here, and I done said it before, I hadn't even talked to Tim in a while. But Timmy Brennan and his partner Bobby Ladd were two of the best street cops. And when I'm saying that, when I'm calling them street cops, I'm talking about as observational arrest. That means when you just ride down the street and see somebody doing something and make an arrest. They were two of the best cops that I ever heard of or known, in definitely in Los Angeles County, because that's all I know about. But they were the two you just didn't mess with. And on that, by saying that, they also were probably made about 5 or 10 dope arrests in their career because, not in their career, in that time in the 90s when they were homicide police, because they used that as a tool. Just like he said, they didn't even care about no narcotics and stuff like that. And so to say that they were dirty cops and stuff like that is just JMX taking a song that DJ Quick made because he was so popular as a cop, and they knew his name and Blondie and all of that, that he wanted to throw that out, and then a boy from his hometown of Chicago is putting that out. So just that's just all I want to say on that. But Brennan and Ladd, far from dirty, and I hate that Jay Mix get away with saying that about them because it's almost more hurtful for what they say about me to hear that about them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you.
I was just going to say, I do have a follow-up question about one of the things you mentioned earlier, Tim. Were you shown more than one autopsy photo of Tupac, or just the one that circulated for years?
Oh, boy. We're going back a few years. I don't remember. I remember the autopsy photos, and I remember seeing the one that I saw that made it into a book, I think, and then was on, I don't know, on the internet. I remember seeing that. I don't know if that's a specific photo I saw. They had their book out, the one I went and talked to them. I don't remember which photos I might have seen, but I do remember seeing, an autopsy photo.
Okay, did you ever hear of any of Orlando Anderson's relatives, whether it be cousins or any of that, bragging that Orlando did commit the shooting on Tupac at any time?
Well, I think there's some stuff on YouTube or something where one of his his cousins or somebody, nephew, somebody bragging about it in the South. Um, I didn't actually even listen to it. I just had some people told me about, oh, see this video. They're, saying they're bragging on Orlando doing it. And, I mean, I never had any doubt in my mind that's going back at the time, a few days after Tupac was shot, as who did it. I mean, I was pretty well. The informants that I had in Compton and, all over the city, these aren't just like first time guys I talked to. These guys, have made other cases and murders and things for me. I mean, these guys knew what they were talking about. And, the streets were telling me that this is good. The retaliations, the back and forth shootings that came to Compton, just the different informant information saying that it was Orlando that did it. Talking to his best friend later and him saying, yeah, he told me he did it. Basically that, Keefe D and DeAndre Smith and T. Brown were also in the car with him. These, I never had any doubt, and that's why um, that's what I always thought happened. I was from the beginning, and it just wasn't my case. It was Las Vegas' case, so they had to take it from there. We brought Orlando in the day of those warrants after Tupac was killed. I talked to him, and Las Vegas was in there, and of course he denied, the murder that he did with us, and we asked about Vegas, and he said, that he was there, and that Tupac and Doug and the mob guys, jumped on and were kicking on and all this other kind of stuff. But, then he started lying. Said, well, of course, I had nothing to do, with the murder, that I left in some other type of vehicle or whatever. And he didn't want to talk anymore about it. But it's like I have never doubted it. I mean, we also arrested T. Brown that same morning on those affidavits. I did that affidavit. And, I had the feeling from him talking to thousands of gangsters, murder cases, he even told me, I think he was sitting on a bunch of dope, and he had a Mac 11 pistol or something. He was on probation. He wasn't listed on the search warrant, but we did hit it. I think it was 39 locations listed on the search warrant, and he was the 40th location. We did a probation search, and a lot of people won't know that we arrested him at that point also. And he told me, he sat there and talking to me and said, you know what, I'll tell you about anything. Because I can give up, other murders, whatever. And I told him, I want to hear about Vegas, because I already had performance telling me T. Brown was in the car. And he just looked at me and he just said, man, I'm going to have to do the time because it's too close. This stuff's way too close, which just told me that, he knew there's no way out of it. He was in that car. It's too big of a case. He figured, if he gives it up, he's going down heavy for that case. Whereas, if we would have talked to him again at a later time, something might have been able to be worked out, especially if he wasn't the driver of the car and didn't actually take place, or wasn't one of the people that actually did the shooting or drove the car. There might have been some wiggle room for him if he was just riding in the car to, testify against the other one. And of course, now DeAndre's dead, and Orlando's dead. I handled his case when he was killed along with two other people. And then Michael DeRoe was wounded. And so now it's just down to Keefe D. And with, his immunity deal, things aren't looking too good for prosecution on this case at all.
Yeah. Hey, David King want to know, and I know this wasn't in your jurisdiction or something, but just if you heard any of your former talked about it. Do you believe the incident at the Lakewood Mall happened with Trayvon getting his chain snatched?
Yeah, that's a good one because I've seen, I can't remember which one of those conspiracy theory clowns brought it up, but saying that, that was all made up and that never happened. I had several informants tell me about that incident that happened, and one in particular that was in the affidavit that told me about that incident happened. Not only did it happen, during the Biggie Smalls Task Force, I spoke to security at the Lakewood Mall that actually recalled the incident also. I don't think they had a report on the incident, a security log that they could find, but I spoke to one of the persons that was there present during it, and all that information was in with the task force, Biggie Smalls Task Force. So that was someone else that backed it up, and then I talked to Trayvon when he was arrested. I think it was shortly before I went over to the task force, and he was arrested. I sat down, upstairs had him, sat down in the car with him, and I asked him about it. I said, because the initial information I had was that they had got his chain when they jumped him at the Southside Tips, and they had got his chain, jumped him. And then when I sat down to talk to Trayvon, he said, man, you were right about everything, with them guys. And he said it was Orlando and Dre and them. And he said, but they never got my chain.
No, he couldn't have came back without that chain.
Yeah, he said they tried to get it, but I got my chain back.
Yeah, he didn't get
so,
it.
if they're trying to say it didn't happen, there's several people that could say it did happen or whatever. They're saying that's part of a conspiracy, and I don't know. They bring up these conspiracies where there would have to be about 500 people that don't even know each other involved in different agencies, everything else. If there's people that aren't believing in some of these conspiracies, you got to think about common sense with it. These people that don't even know each other, they're going to be all involved for this big conspiracy, and it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So that was another. I'm glad that was brought up. Another point I want to say.
On that point,
even Trayvon said it happened. He just said
and he did lose the chain. I was kind of privy to the conversation when he came back, and I know he still had a chain that got broke, but he didn't lose it.
And it's funny because then I see these guys on the conspiracy things, and I see Brennan and Ladd, they're lying about this, because they said, in the affidavit they got the chain. Well, you know what? Stuff evolves, and that was the information I had at the time that they got his chain. And when I talked to him, the first-hand person that was actually there, he said, yeah, it all happened, and he just didn't get my chain. I held on to it, and, I look at these things, I'm just like, they're calling me a liar?
Just because of something that happened over 20 years ago.
It's just stupidity. It's the same thing with that, informant. It didn't tell me initially that Orlando was with Monk when they brought that car over to the shop over there in Compton, right? And I talked about Monk and another guy, and then, after the update, oh, yeah, by the way, the other guy was Baby Lane. And I'm just like, well, thanks for telling me now, But, stuff evolves over the years.
Yeah. One thing, Heidi E., she keep asking, so I'm going on, or it might be a he, I'm not for sure. But he wants to know, did you pay your informant? And I know you kind of explained that earlier, how you really pretty much operated with your informant.
I've paid a few informants over the years, but for 99% of my informants, I never even paid them. I did it because they knew who I was. They knew I could catch them dirty if I wanted to. I usually had already caught them dirty, just kind of looked the other way because they were going to, they're slinging a little dope or something. I know what they're doing on the street, and I'm just drive by and keep going or whatever.
Yeah. They
know I could come back, get them at any time because I pretty much knew most of the gangsters in Compton, and they all knew me. And, I basically, I treated people all right. I treated them good. I treated them like I want to be treated. I was honest with them. If I said, you're going down, you're going down. If I said, maybe you can help me on a murder.
Yeah.
And then, maybe we won't have to. And then, to this day, I get calls from informants. I'm long gone. Yeah. Retired for 4 years almost. And, I get informants calling me almost every time there's a murder in Compton.
Yeah.
Saying, oh, hey, man, this dude did this, And, it's kind of funny because, Bobby Ladd laughs all the time. He's like, man, I can't believe these people still call you and tell you he's doing stuff, right? But I mean, I helped them out too.
Yeah.
Sometimes these guys, they're the units, the patrol units about to store their car. They ain't got no money to get it out of the impound and everything. And I'm like, they say, hey man, come on, can you talk to them or whatever, and tell them just don't take my car. I say, hey, I can help you out on that shooting the other night or whatever. So I might talk to the patrol and say, okay, do you got to store this guy's car? And I'm like, no, we'll do whatever you want. I just, okay, let it go right now. And people remember when you helped them out, I mean, you know how it is, because your dad did the same stuff.
Yeah. Outlaw Cody want to ask you, Tim, have you ever had any run-ins with Heron and Buntry?
I knew them all, one time or another, you know that, Reggie. I mean, I wasn't really heavy into the mob. I was more further south side of town, Midtown, and all that kind of stuff. But at one time or another, I was over in the mob doing stuff, and I'd run into Heron, I'd ran into Bunk Street, Mob James, Timmy Rue. I don't even know. I probably arrested. I could have arrested all of them. I don't even remember.
I think you arrested Timmy that time when he shot at when they were trying to kill Mob James, and they chased him to the house, and he started shooting at the guys that was chasing him. Were you in on that arrest?
Oh, probably. It's like, people bring up stuff from the past, Reggie.
I know.
It was like, you know how it was. Every night was, crazy, nonstop craziness over there. Working, we worked the PM shift every night. And, I'll run into these retired cops that had left Compton PD many years ago, and they'll bring up about all this crazy stuff that happened, these shootouts, all this stuff. And I got no, they say, oh, yeah, you remember you did? I'm like, I don't know what I did. I said, that's just another night in Compton to me.
Exactly. A guy named Justin, who's a good supporter of ours, he wanted to ask, and they all ask this question, what's your favorite Pac song? Do you have a favorite Tupac song?
Well, I like California Love.
Oh, yeah, you definitely a white boy. He said California Love. Everybody likes California Love. But, yeah.
I got it on my gang training, and when I talk about some of the gangster rap stuff and everything, I have that. That's one of the songs that I make all them cops listen to it, because I like this song. A lot of them cops will be looking at it, especially old timers, and say, I don't want to hear that stuff. Stuff, right?
Yeah.
Tim, did you ever hear back in the day that Bad Boy had put a bounty out on those death row chains, and that was the reason for the Lakewood incident, or is that something that
that's some of the information I had heard that around the time. I don't know if I put it in the update or not. But I do recall one of the informants telling us that there was a bounty put out on the death row chains, and I'm not sure I believed it at the time. I mean, it's kind of like the thing with Puffy, with TPD statements. 90% of TPD statement I believe, because he's got some details in there that I believe, and the players that he's got, just from investigation I did back in the 90s, and it's like I believe that. But as far as some of the money and it's Puffy, when you start getting into the Puffy stuff and everything, I just, I don't think there's any way you can ever prove that. Because I had other people telling me too that Puffy, he was down for them to take out Tupac and all this kind of stuff, and that he had told the South Side that. I've heard that through people too, but there was never any hard evidence on any of that, and it's based on, that, I just believe, if there was actually a promise of money being paid, more would have happened behind that when the money didn't get paid.
Okay.
So, that part of the statement, I'm not sure on, but I do believe the rest of what he told was pretty well true. I haven't really listened to the full statement, but part of it. And it's just basically, I'm not saying that it isn't true. I'm just saying, just like with the bounty on the death row things, I leave it alone because I just don't have enough, like other people to confirm it. I mean, it's kind of like have more one source,
Right.
to go with before you're going to believe it.
Okay, I want to ask a couple of questions right quick that a lot of people keep hitting us with.
Yeah.
Outlaw Cody want to know is Tim Brennan going to be on the Death Row Chronicles? I can answer that for him. Yes, he is, because he and I filmed on the same day. Whether they use it or not, we don't know. But he was interviewed for the Death Row Chronicles. Now they want to know, do you believe that if KPD has cancer? I'll let you answer that, along with what somebody asked, Outlaw Cody also asked if KPD is going to confess again. If KPD is going to confess, I'll send out a link. I got a copy of that, of a little bit of him talking, and I'll send that link out so you guys can review that and see what y'all think about that. But I'll let Timmy go ahead and answer about.
I mean, if Keithy's, I heard that. I heard that, I can't remember even who I heard it from, that, he's got cancer. If he does, I'm sorry, because, a lot of guys, I mean, you've known him for so many years, and I've known him for over 30 years. And, outside of, he's done wrong to others, but he never did anything, personally to me. And we've always gotten along every time we talked, every time I arrested him. Even if he did try to run, and we might have rolled around on the ground a little bit, stuff like that. So, of course, I hope he doesn't. And if he does, I hope there's, he get better. Hope for the best. I don't hope for the worst for anybody. And he's never done anything personally to me, and we've always gotten along pretty well.
Yeah.
As far as, as adversaries, we've gotten along all right.
Yeah.
So, I hope he's all right. I don't know the second part of the question.
I think I had answered it. Were you going to be on the Death Row Chronicles? And I think I answered it because I know you did it.
Yeah, well, probably. Like you said, he usually, I probably was interviewed for 3 hours, and they might be, just like all these other documentaries, you might have an hour worth of interview, and you might get 1 minute or 2 minutes of airtime, so you never know.
Exactly. Jim Rockefeller asks, and
and that's one more thing I want to interject too. All these guys with their videos, I think their conspiracy videos and stuff with their commercial interruptions and all this stuff. You guys want to make money off this stuff. I don't know who they are. I don't know where they're from. I know they're not from Compton. I've never seen them there or anything. And I wouldn't even talk about this stuff because I was still, an active cop for years. I didn't even first start talking about any of this until so much of the information was already out there.
That's what I thought.
Through other sources, and then I just, okay, I might as well talk about it now. I'm retired. And, I've never, all these documentaries I've ever done, I've never gotten paid a dime. I've talked to people. I talked to Anton Beatty that first time. That broke the ice for me, and that was just because, I thought he was, I listened to him.
He's a good guy.
Really had a good, intelligent interpretation of what happened, and I said, okay, I'll talk to you about it, right, as much as I can, still being an active cop, and then I retired. I never got a dime for any of this. I'm not making any money from these documentaries or anything else outside of maybe some of the pictures and videos you guys see and some of that stuff. So I'm not getting rich off documentaries or any of this kind of stuff.
But I do want to promote for Brennan. He do have a book out.
LAPDs, and I got involved because I happen to know all these gangsters that are involved, and I happen to come up with information on Tupac and some stuff about Biggie when that stuff happened. But these aren't my cases; these LAPD and Las Vegas cases. And I'm just, all I ever tried to do, just the same thing I did at Compton PD, we used to solve some murders for some other agencies, do the best to help out because we do have good informants and we do know what happened.
And for all you that want to be out there and say Brennan is this and Brennan is that, I just want y'all to know as close as he was, and he was working under my father's supervision at the time, he is still the one that came and testified on Sherriff's behalf, not on Sherriff's behalf, against Sherriff on the probation violation, making him a gang member and testifying for his activities or a gang associate. in the city of Compton. So he's still on the behalf of the county and doing his job. Testified on Sugar's probation violation. So for you to want to make him out to be a death row secretive agent and all of that, if that was the case, he sure wouldn't have showed up. He would have been sick that day when he was supposed to testify to get Sugar the help get Sugar 9 years.
Well, I mean, not only that, but I also had to provide a report on Orlando Anderson, who was paid off by Suge to actually testify that Suge was trying to stop the fight after he had told me when I interviewed him that
he wasn't paid off. We made a settlement with him. We did a settlement.
So anyway, yeah, it was. I know the people that went to the meeting, so whatever. He got the testimony he wanted out of it.
It didn't work. Jim Rockefeller, he wanted to ask, and I answered it because of the 2-part question. Did either one of us know Kevin Gaines? You must be new to this game. But anyway, Jim, I definitely didn't know Kevin Gaines. And I'll let Brennan answer that for himself.
No, I didn't know Kevin Gaines. I also, they subpoenaed me, Loretta Wallace, when she sued LAPD about wrongful death on her son, Christopher Wallace, big and small. I was an expert witness on the gangs in Compton, the mob, and Death Row, and the Southside Crips and all that kind of stuff. And her suit was based on lots of fools' theories about what had happened. And, they had asked me had I ever seen, and, I pretty much knew a good portion, almost, all the gangsters in Compton. We had a lot of gangsters, and I dealt with them mostly, one time or another. And they asked me about Kevin Gaines. They asked me about David Mack. They asked me about Rafael Perez. Had I seen these guys hanging out over in the mob or, kicking it around Compton and all this kind of stuff? For one, I'd never seen it. And I said, for two, if these guys were actually out there and they're doing crimes, hanging with the mob and all this kind of stuff, I said, the first blood I pick up for a case that he wants to beat, he's going to tell me about dirty cops. Oh, yeah, there's a dirty cop over here, man, hanging out. That's the first thing they're going to tell you about. If there's some dirty cop that's hanging out with these guys. Well, I never saw them hanging out up there. So I don't know these guys.
I have a question real quick for Tim, Reggie, if that's okay. After the A&E special aired, one of the conspiracy theorists, this guy R.J. Bonds, went on a online rant, and part of it he was ranting about was Lolita Files, who helped write the book Once Upon a Time in Compton. And he went on to say that the A&E show was directed to promote that book, and that wasn't even the girl's real name, and he was going to expose her and this, that, and the other thing. When you hear just crazy, just psychopath talk like that, what's your reaction when you hear that?
That's just the more of the craziness. It's just like he puts on some picture of some dude in Las Vegas and says it's Reggie Wright Sr. I can look at the picture and blur as it is, no, it ain't Reggie Sr. When Orlando got beat.
Yeah.
He puts another one up, says, oh, here's Greg Kading in a Las Vegas TV uniform. And then they did another one, I think, with J Mix a month ago or something about, with this question, was Tim Brennan in Las Vegas? It was like, well, what's next, right?
That's how they try to knock that credibility down.
Lolita Files is we've been through an entertainment attorney that was a friend of ours and introduced us to her. Bob and I had pretty much written a book, but, we wrote it like cops, just the facts, man, that kind of stuff. And, we wanted an author to massage it a little bit, make it more of like a novel form, and we met her and we instantly clicked, our politics aren't the same, and, there's a lot of stuff that isn't the same. But, she's a great person, and she had a great take on the story, because the story, every time we were trying to, tell our story, whatever, for a book, everybody wanted to talk about Tupac and Biggie. Well, we said the story is Compton. We said, the story is Compton, and You know, I mean, you got NWA, Silk Knight, DJ Quick. I mean, all this other stuff going on, and all these other burners and riots and cops getting killed, different stuff that's happened over the years.
Mm-hmm.
That's the story of Once Upon a Time in Compton. Tupac and Biggie Smalls are just a small part of that book.
Right.
You know, I mean, we talk about the city of Compton and everything that happened there over the years. And it wasn't all, I mean, there was a lot of craziness, you know, but you got to, you know, 99% of the city is all good citizens just trying to survive, you know. So, I mean, we wanted to tell a story, you know, and show that, you know, how we dealt with this stuff and how we dealt with the community and how they, you know, assisted us on certain things in the community to try to get these crimes solved.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Lolita Powell is, you know, a great person for that and has a lot of passion towards her beliefs. And you'll see a lot of that in her forward in our book, where she talks about Wood meeting with us and, you know, looking at the story and why she was attracted to it.
Okay.
I'm getting a lot of questions about people want to know if we can get Neckbone to talk on one day. I just want to put out there, me and Neckbone wasn't that close. I arrested Neckbone, and we got into an altercation during the arrest. And so we was never really that close, so it would be hard for me to have a relationship with Neckbone. But
okay, well, guys, I got to go here pretty soon. So if you got any one or two more questions, and I got
one more. Okay. Jason, want to ask you right quick, Tim. I lost it because it's all these questions coming in. Tim, could QPD be okay? They want to know your opinion on this. Could QPD be arrested and turn itself into Las Vegas PD, or what would be the outcome of that, or how could that work out? Which is kind of crazy.
You know, I mean, that's that would be for where it would go from that. You know, that's a whole lot of hypothetical. Would he do this, or could he be arrested, or would he turn himself in? Turn himself in and want to make a statement, a voluntary statement. Of course he could.
Okay.
You know, and I don't believe that's going to happen. But as far as them arresting him now, based on what there is now, I don't think they can do it.
Okay.
I got one.
Unless
one
something else surfaces and more people come forward.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, John, you want to take the last question with Mr. Brennan? Because I really appreciate him spending. Okay. He's done spent an hour and a half with us answering all these questions and stuff, and really appreciate him. I'm just telling y'all, this is one of the best street cops you will ever know. There might be some more technical writing sitting behind a desk, typers and stuff like that. But as far as getting in a police car and riding down the street and recognizing somebody that's dirty or not, this is the man. And even before the dope game, I remember he used to chase stolen cars all through the city. So, I mean, this is ability to see crime. I mean, man, he needs to teach a class on it if it can be taught. But anyway, John, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you about this, Tim, just so anybody wondering wouldn't ask why I didn't ask it. Did you ever, in any of your time after the Vegas stuff, ever hear of any sort of theory about anybody named Little Half Dead or the Patton brothers having anything to do with the murder of Tupac, which is and the reason I ask this is the main conspiracy theorists, that's what they cling on to as to what really happened, when you would have firsthand knowledge on if any of that was even slightly credible in any way. So I was wondering if you could ask that, or I'm sorry, if you could speak on that for just a moment before you jump off.
I don't know what their whole theory is. I know something about a letter that Chris Bradford, who's a really great guy, and by the way, he's done some stuff for Police Memorial for cops in Compton, and he's a good and very credible person. That's a anchor. He was a news person out here in Los Angeles. I think he's retired right now. But I know they got a letter, and they're saying something about over a song, this Little Half Dead, whatever. I don't know if Little Half Dead is supposed to be the shooter, the Patton brothers, or whatever. It's just, you got to ask yourself, why would none of this have come up? I mean, just the same thing when I went to the Biggie Smalls task force. I reviewed, I think it was like 96 murder books, and all the leads at the beginning of that case involved Suge Knight, Death Row, the Mob, and Southside Crips. And those were all the leads. And I said, somewhere here, and the first 500 people that called in is the real deal. And that's usually how it is in some of these cases, And if you got to figure, if nobody ever else, and from all these places, from these agencies that work this case, ever said anything about a little half-dad, this theory coming up later it seems like a dead theory to me. And, as far as the Pat brothers, and so, I don't even know these guys. I know I had a Pat. I think I'm glad you brought that up, because that was another thing they made a big deal about, is I had some patent listed in my affidavit, and that for some reason we didn't hit his house. Like it was a conspiracy. I didn't want to hit his house because I don't know if that's Danny Patton or what his name was, but from what I remember, it was an Elm Lane Pyru member. I believe it was Elm Lane, who was part one of them. And, he wasn't little half bad. He was a Patton, I guess. One of the people they're talking about is a Pat. And so they're saying, I didn't hit this house because, I'm covering up for the Pattons involvement or whatever. The reason I didn't hit some of those houses, that wasn't the only house I didn't hit. Like I said, I started out with about 55 locations I was going to hit. Mm-hmm. If we had task forces that were assisting us, if we had people, federal, local task forces, to do surveillances and workups through computers on all these suspects that I had identified, they came on to like that Looters Park meeting where they talked about a conspiracy to commit murders on some South Side, mm-hmm. and he was one of the people that was at that meeting. And along with him, there was probably 15 other locations that, I had identified people that I wanted to hit, mm-hmm. but we couldn't nail them down. We couldn't get a good address on them. We couldn't see them at these locations, and we couldn't say for sure these people were there. So, they made something about it that I had a patent in my affidavit and we didn't hit them. But we didn't hit a lot of people, mm-hmm. Just because we couldn't establish that they actually lived at the location. So we can't just kick in the wrong door. And besides that, I think the theory is ridiculous, because it's the only thing I heard from that was based on that letter. Mm-hmm. And then they talk about some of the people involved in that case, and they're already the credibility has been knocked out of that. So, right. No, I mean, that's the only place I ever heard it on for these conspiracy things.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I covered it because I didn't want them to say, well, why didn't they ask about it? I know it's ridiculous. It is, and Reggie, I think is in agreement. So I just wanted to bring it up to further let people know that theory just holds no merit whatsoever.
Yep. Okay. Well, guys, I got to go. So.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Tim, thanks again.
We're going to hang on just answer a few little questions.
Okay.
And then we'll end this.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Thank you,
Tim. Thanks again, man. I won't mention this person's name, so maybe he'll stop, because I don't like to have people blocked. Mm-hmm. Maybe he'll stop putting all this crazy shit up.
Okay.
Maybe that's all he wanted, some attention, so I'll give him some attention. Michael Monsanto, thank you for all your nice things you have to say about me. But trust me, Reggie Wright Jr. is not scared to do no time in no federal jail. I am cool with both sides, Bloods, Rips, and the police. So I can do all three. I'm one of the few niggas that can say that. But go ahead, keep it going on. Keep it going on, Mike. All right. Now we done gave you your attention. Maybe you'll stop with all this bullshit you're putting out here. Because I try not to be a negative person these days. But a while ago, I would have read your name and found your ass. That ain't me no more. All right. Let's go. Let me see. There was a bunch of questions I wanted to ask the people. That was out there. All right. Nick B wanted to know how much the settlement was. Nick B, I think it was $60,000.
And that's the Orlando settlement, correct?
On the Orlando settlement, and it was paid out by the Tupac estate.
Okay.
Let me see who else. We had some more questions. Answer about the neck bone. Lay Legend. Can't do it. Lay Legend. He think Tupac's alive. Lay Legend, you seem to be a cool brother, man, but you keep talking that Tupac alive, so it's the only reason I don't kind of acknowledge you, bro. You stop talking that, you might be considered a good dude. Oh, Bruce Richardson. Let's talk on Bruce Richardson's right quick.
Okay.
Bruce Richardson. That was the night Bruce got killed. The night that me and Suge was at Steve Kentrock's house. Matter of fact, that was a big night. That was the night of the May Niggas video shoot. When that assault that happened on that video shoot, we were dealing with Steve Kentrock that night. That's when Suge accused Kentrock and David of misappropriating his money, and told him he needed to go and get everything right. But Bruce was killed by one of his homeboys. We did get into a fight with him. Well, we didn't. Actually, 6 Feet Deep, a group that we had called 6 Feet Deep. I don't know which one it was. It was either 6'8" or 6'9". Got into him at a bar. It was underneath the Beverly Center in Los Angeles. I remember that nightclub. And him and Suge had a relationship, was talking, and he just kept saying how he was going to call his homeboys up there. And Suge just kept telling Bruce, hey, dog, come on, man. These niggas are with me. These are my people. You ain't calling nobody up here. You ain't calling nobody up here. And him and Bruce talked that night. He came up there the next day. All of a sudden, Suge had something to do with it. I don't believe that. By no means that Suge had anything to do with Bruce Richardson's death, because, like I said, I was with him all that night, and he had other things and big things on his mind that night. And I was dealing with his money.
What happened, Reggie, if you don't mind me asking, what were you present at that video shoot where the altercation happened with Tupac?
I had left.
Okay.
I seen the videotape of it, but I had left because it was a stunt man that was acting tough.
Okay.
That was being a real tough guy because he thought he was a little buff and he was a stunt man. And that's when the Outlaws got tired of him just tripping, and they all rushed him.
Okay.
And
that was in the death row.
Yeah.
The little snippet was in the
and
death
I think
row.
that caused Tracy Robinson to get fired too because of something she didn't do or anything. But after that, I no longer saw Tracy Robinson anymore.
Okay.
Who was also married to Gobi at the time.
Okay.
I think they broke up now. Let's see. What else? I'm just scrolling down here to answer questions that I can ask. Ask Reggie, how was DJ Quick relationship? B Dash Lee asks Reggie, how is DJ Quick relationship with the MOB? DJ Quick don't come in the hood anymore, so it's kind of hard to say. I haven't been in the hood either, so it'd be hard for me to say. But DJ Quick was, he was a rapper that was good. Only problems I ever known that we had with DJ Quick was the time that I spoke of when him and Tony Lane and all them came up to the office, and we had a little discussion. And when Suge came to his house late at night, and we got that all worked out, he gave Suge the money, and that kind of went away until he said something that something I think it was with the Muslims with Farrakhan or something. He made a comment about something. That's when Suge was on his way down. I wasn't hanging with him anymore, so I forget what happened there. But but he didn't ask about the relationship with Suge. He asked about the relationship with the mob. So.
Right. B-Dog wants to know, Reggie, did you ever talk to Frank after 2006 when they came out with that documentary, the assassination thing?
No. I didn't talk to Frank anymore after that. The only one I spoke with after that was Kevin Hackey, which Kevin Hackey apologized, and I leaked I shouldn't have said that, but a email from Kevin Hackey and between Kevin Hackey and myself was leaked. It was on 313's. Y'all can ask Real about it. He has a copy of it, where he pretty much still apologizing and pretty much admitting that. And maybe I'll give it to John. We might as well leak it now. Everybody know I leaked it. Pretty much saying that that he know that the killer of Tupac and the killer of Biggie is dead, and once again apologizing for even putting me into that situation. But he no longer want to speak on it. So I did lose that bet that I said I promise y'all I will get Kevin Hackey. The most he would give me is something in writing. But I'm still gonna get Trayvon Lane. I promise y'all I'll get Trayvon Lane. And Corrupt and Trayvon Lane coming up. I may get dashed, but he gonna want a major apology, and I can't do it because I just can't do it. That ain't me. Let's see. Or any other? You see anything else that's good out here, John?
I mean, I don't want to say no and discredit the people's questions, but
Well, I don't want to say that. I meant that we need to answer that.
Yeah,
we
no,
answer in a
no.
while.
Yeah, I just we could sit here all night. We did one last night. We did one tonight. I'm trying to see. Reggie Frank was on vacation. Well,
Also, Outlaw Cody want to know, was Ship paranoid at all after the Vegas shooting? No, that nigga was mad. I wouldn't call him paranoid. So I would just think he was upset. He lost a friend, first of all. They were friends, no matter what y'all say. Man, they were hanging out daily. That's why Danny Boy got jealous of them, because Danny Boy used to be in that position. But they were hanging out, going to clubs, partying, having sex with different women. It was just somebody on his level in his mind. When all the homies and everybody was around, he had to kind of take care of them. But, Shug could pull his own girls, and Pac could pull his own girls, and they were taking private trips, to Hawaii and stuff with them and their main chicks. And so go and stay in nice, hotels and stuff like that. And just those two, we didn't see them or hear from them for a couple of days. So, no, that was his own way.
Okay.
Y'all can believe what y'all want on that, but there was nothing going on behind I want to leave there for shit. I just don't buy that at all.
Okay. This is a question more for the estate. It's not for us, but the guy keeps asking it over and over and over all night. So he wants to know why Tupac's life insurance policy has not been cashed in yet. Obviously, I don't think we're going to know the pertinent details of that, but I don't know if you want to answer that question.
Oh, he didn't have one. I don't think he had one. Who would have it? Who had it on him? Who had it on him?
It would have to be mom.
It was obvious. Okay, the mom was. The mom and them was doing bad until we put some money on Tupac books, and that was Tupac's main reason for reaching out to Shep. I saw an interview when I was trolling, as I do lately, where he was saying, hey, even before Shep, I think he did a song on Above the Rim soundtrack. He said, I have never got that much for appearing on a soundtrack or any song in my life that Shug gave me. I'm just trying to tell y'all, that's how Shug was. Shug wasn't good with doing royalty statements or anything like that. But Shug will pay you. You ask him for something or he needed something from you, you will get paid well. I'm not justifying it and said he shouldn't have had a royalty department, but he didn't because he really felt just take care of people, and that's what some people didn't like. People just wanted, you work, you want your pay that you promised, and that was the only downfall or the only thing that I could say bad about. Sure. Park Rider asked who Death Row Train that was. That was Trayvon and Neckbone were the two arrested in the house. Trayvon didn't go in, but Neckbone and Rage, I think, got arrested. They had some marijuana in their possession, and they got a citation. So I really believe that was Neckbone's chain that was in the house. It was in Shivers in their parents' house. The Orchard, the 1600 block of East Orchard address, if any of you researchers have that, is where that chain came from. I love the house. So whenever you're ready to end it,
Okay.
John.
I just want to remind people to make sure that they subscribe, because as you see tonight, we may just pop up with somebody live, and just to make sure that you are able to get notified when we do go live, just make sure to subscribe. Otherwise, you may miss it. And like Reggie said, we do have plans to have big people on there that I know you guys are going to want to ask questions to. So if you want to get alerts when we do go live, because it's not just a set date and time now, we're going to just pop up whenever we want to pop up. So if you want to be involved, just make sure you subscribe so you get notified.
All right. One last question I wanted to answer.
Okay.
Somebody is talking about how the dads and Stu fall out. Yeah, they are mad at each other right now, and I believe it's over money. But I want to say this, and we're gonna get him. Matter of fact, we was going to do him tonight, but I took Tim Brennan over him. But what's that boy name? Lil Half there. It's a good chance he'll be on either next Tuesday or Wednesday, or the next time I hear RJ and J Mix trying to do something. But he's in the studio with Snoop right now, and he sounds just like Nate Dogg I'm hearing. So he's doing stuff that Nate Dogg would have been doing because that's Nate Dogg's cousin. So he's in the studio working with Snoop right now. But Daz isn't. Daz is in Atlanta. So that's what's up with Daz right now. Okay. But I don't know the reason that they're not upset, other than Daz feels as though he should be getting more than $1,000 for doing shows with Snoop right now. What I heard.
Yeah. Okay. You wanna wrap it on that one?
I'm good.
Okay. Thanks everybody for tuning in. If we didn't get to your questions, there's only so many we
what's
can.
up, man? How you doing, Fam Deep? All right.
Yeah, so we try to get to the questions we can, but just make sure to subscribe.
Cabo, how you doing, brother? I appreciate your respect. Cynthia Weiser, appreciate your questions. Lay Legend, get it together, man. Tupac is dead, man. Come on, get it together, bro. You seem like a good dude. Justin, peace out, brother. Appreciate you.
All right. Mr. Man, yeah. All right, thanks
Mr.
everybody.
Man.
Yeah,
everybody. All right, thanks, my wife. Thanks, man.
All right, thanks everybody for tuning in, and look out for the next live chat. We don't know when it'll be.
AJ Bakley, thanks, man. All right, thanks, bro.
It'll be soon. Thanks.
Peace.